Welcome to the Providence College Podcast. Subscribe to the show on iTunes, SoundCloud, Stitcher, and Google Play. If you like what you hear, please review and share with others. Email podcast@providence.edu with questions or comments. Go Friars!
Hello and welcome to the Providence College Podcast. I'm your host, Matt Chittum, and I'm joined as always by PC producer and videographer Chris Judge, class of '05. Here at the Providence College Podcast, it's our job to bring you interesting stories from members of the Friar family. And today is a great episode. We have Kyron Cartwright, point guard for the Providence College Friars. Kyron, thank you for joining us.
No problem.
I know this is a busy time of year for you. We were just talking before we got started. You're heading down to Seton Hall in a couple hours. And for you, when you have these road trips, how do you prepare a day or two in advance for these trips from an academic standpoint and an athletic standpoint?
Everybody's situation is different. Usually if you're ahead of your classes, you don't really have to take much. I just probably take my computer. And then some people who, need extra time, more time, they'll bring a lot more stuff. And then usually when we get to the hotel, it's study hall.
Right. And this has been a pretty crazy year for you personally. You've been able to kind of lead. I know it's a team effort always, but you're in a very central role within the team this year, which is obviously a nice thing. You're performing at a very high level. With that said, when you go into these games and you go into Big East play, how do you approach each game from a pregame ritual standpoint? So say it's a home game, you're, say, 5 hours out. How do you prepare for a home game going right up to tip?
If it's like 5 hours out for a home game, probably just getting through walkthrough. I'm probably just getting done with that. And then 4 hours before the game, we always eat. Then after that, we just hang out till it's 2 hours before tip-off. That's when everybody starts to get finished getting taped and stuff like that. And then we head to the dunk 2 hours before the game. Okay.
So any normal pregame foods that you stick with?
We get the same pregame meal every game.
Oh, yeah? What's that?
No variety. If we're at home, we usually get Boston Market. That's what we have. And then if we're on the road, we always get pasta with red sauce. We get a fish, grilled chicken, and salad.
All right, I have two questions then. So who decides on the menu? And if you're going Boston Market, it's all about the size, right? So what sides do you get to choose from?
Boston Market, we probably get mac and cheese. We get salad, potatoes, and the mixed vegetables.
Oh, the mixed vegetables. No cream spinach? That's always my favorite one.
We don't choose.
No. Well, obviously you get ready for these games and you have a certain ritual. So you're at the dunk, so you leave 2 hours before. It takes you 15, 20 minutes to get there and all of that. So in terms of your pregame prep, once you hit the floor, is there certain rituals you like to go through from a ball handling and shooting perspective?
It's not really, I would say, a ritual, but everybody gets up shots. I would say it depends who's doing the scout. If Coach Blaney's doing the scout, then usually it's a little different. But if not, usually me, Ryan, Alpha will always shoot with him before the game.
Right. So you say you're with Alpha, and you have in your leadership role this year. How has your role within the team changed, not only on the court, but in terms of working with some of the younger guys?
I would say it's just that, playing point guard for any team, you have to be a leader for your teammates. Usually you're like a direct extension of the coach most of the time. You usually know what he wants and what he doesn't want. And a lot of times you have the insight into what the coach is thinking. And a lot of times the young guys don't have that. You can just kind of pass that on to them. So, they're not hesitant out there. They know exactly what to do at all times, even if coach is not directly speaking to them, things like that. Just trying to give people confidence to, just play. If you're not confident, it's hard to play in the Big East Conference if you're not confident. You can see that any night. People make a couple turnovers, things like that. If you get down on yourself, it's going to show. And usually teams like to jump on stuff like that.
I can imagine. So where does your confidence come from?
Just myself, just your attitude. Everybody is different, I think for me, just, playing, you just got to believe you're the best person out there to play like the best person out there. If I don't think I'm the best, I can't play like I'm the best.
So when did that sort of, that sort of confident, I'm the best mindset, when did you start, creating that for yourself?
I mean, I always believed in myself. I always thought I was good. It's just, when opportunity presents itself, obviously playing with people like Chris and things like that, LaDante the other years, the ball not in my hand most of the time. You just got to find another way to be helpful out there, impact the game, and you just got to be patient, wait for your opportunity.
And does it come a lot earlier than that too? I mean, your brother played, right? He went to Dominguez, and then obviously you're a Compton kid. You went to Compton High. Your brother went to Dominguez, and you have a situation where, obviously, going all the way back, do you have a situation where you want to make sure you're always playing at that level, or where does that mindset for you start to shift into how it's kind of crystallized into what it is now?
I mean, just when he was growing up, in the area, my team was always one of the better teams. We had a lot of better players, and I don't think we ever struggled, but that's just the way we were coached. We were always coached like we were the best. If we had a close game, we were getting chewed out on the sidelines and stuff like that because we knew we could do much better than other people. And I think when I got a little bit older, towards my teens, I was always playing older than my age group. And I think that kind of helped me because when we were out there beating a lot of kids that's way older than us, we just got that confidence like, well, if I'm doing this to them, nobody that's my age, around my age, can play with me at all.
Right. Now, did you have any rivals in high school, guys that you look at even now where you say, hey, that was one of my hardest guys I went against?
Personal rivals? Probably not. But probably the school. I went to St. John Bosco and I ended up transferring from there after my freshman year. And pretty much every time I played there or played against them, there's always a little chip on my shoulder when we played them. Played them a couple times. They had Tyler Dorsey, he's at Oregon. Had Daniel Hamilton, he entered the draft last year. They had Isaac Hamilton from UCLA. Mm-hmm. Darian Williams from St. John's, number 45, he was on that team too. Vance Jackson, he's at UConn now. There was a lot of guys on that team.
So how did you guys match up with them as you progressed through high school?
We got them once. I think they got us 2 other times. They got us in the playoffs at our house. That was a disappointing game. But
right, so you have like the team mentality, right? You want to have the best team. Whether it's all league or in the city or the state of California, you want to be as good as you possibly can be, and individually too, right? Because at that point, you're playing to get a college scholarship. You want to play in the best situation possible. So how do you stack yourself up, kind of going from freshman year to senior year against some of those kids as well? Do you kind of, I guess at that point, do you take stock of who's getting what attention, or how does the recruiting process play out compared to you versus some of your peers?
In high school, I wasn't too concerned about that, especially freshman year, not at all. Sophomore year, it was, I think the first time I started getting recruited, we played Laverne Lutheran. That's a school, California. They had Grant Jarrett, who went to Arizona,
right.
Played for the Thunder for a little bit. And they had, can't remember the other kid's name. He goes to Pepperdine now. He just transferred from Nevada. But we played them. I remember I had like 8 and 18 assists or something ridiculous like that. And I think that was the first time I remember getting recruited. I got like a couple letters when I went back home.
And you originally committed to a local school, Loyola Marymount.
Yes.
Right, under that was when Max Good was there? He was the coach?
Yes.
So how did the process start for those who don't know? So you're committed to Loyola. In fact, the other guard that committed there was also a really good player. He's having a good heck of a career now. But Max gets fired. And then what does the process go from there to PC?
After Coach Good got fired, it was, I had made relationships with those coaches that were there currently before they hired the new coach. And, I kind of wanted to open my recruitment up because, you don't just sign 4 years of your life over to somebody you don't really know, things like that. So reopen my recruitment, took a couple trips to other places. But I say probably my relationship with my high school coach and his relationship with Coach LaFleur is kind of what kind of influenced me to come over here.
And that's Andre LaFleur, who's now at UNLV.
Yeah.
But at the time was associate head coach here at PC?
Yeah.
Right. So then obviously he started recruiting you, then you came to campus. And at that point, when you finally have to make your decision, what's the primary factor or factors that led you to PC as opposed to some of your other options?
You just gotta, a lot of things goes into it. You want to go somewhere where your parents trust the coaches as people, not just as coaches. You want to go somewhere where you're comfortable, you feel you can succeed. You obviously want to go somewhere where you fit the system. And you also want to go to a school that's going to compete. And I think all those factors played into me coming to this college.
And then how did distance play into it? Obviously, you're a West Coast guy. You recently committed to a school close by. So was distance a factor at all, or was that a non-issue?
It wasn't really an issue. Playing in travel ball tournaments, a lot of times you're staying in hotels and stuff. So I was away from my family a lot during the summer. And you get used to it. I mean, it's kind of just like a little prep before you do the real thing. So I was never too concerned with going a real far distance because I always knew my parents would make it out somehow, to come see me playing, things like that. So
right. And you mentioned the relationship you have to have with the head coach prior to committing. And also being a point guard, you're kind of the extension of the head coach moving forward. So how has your relationship with Coach Cooley evolved from the recruiting process to now?
When I was recruited, a lot of my visits, I didn't really talk. I was just trying to sit back and observe everything, learn a lot. And, obviously all the coaches, they're trying to put on their best presentation for the school and stuff like that. But, it wasn't really about, what the school has to particularly offer me and stuff like that. It just had to be a place where I was comfortable being, and it had to be good people there.
Right. And you obviously had, it seems like at least, that you had an idea in mind not only for what you wanted out of a basketball career, but also in terms of the academic piece and career prep. So for those who don't know, could you explain a little bit how you kind of created your own major here at PC?
My freshman year, I was always pretty good at history growing up, and I was gonna probably choose history as a major, but just looking at it, it was pretty much too rigorous. I wasn't gonna be able to do that and keep up with basketball at the same time. It would have been a real struggle because I wouldn't have had the time to study everything and have the time to succeed in the classes. I would have been struggling, so I decided not to do that, and I'm always messing around with the cameras and stuff like that, being on the camera. So that just kind of influenced me to try to make my own major to communications. But the school, communication is pretty, it's not very detailed. So they asked me, what did I want to do with a communications major? And basically, I told them I wanted to be around sports, either a broadcaster or maybe behind the camera during games or stuff, things like that. And pretty much they pushed me in the direction of doing a sports media major. So
looking at it now, which sports media members do you look at and say, all right, this person's someone that I'd like to be like, or someone that you look at and say, all right, I want to take something from this, or people you study in that regard?
I used to always like Stuart Scott, ESPN when I was growing up. He always kept it interesting. It was always the show that you wanted to watch. You always wanted to catch him at the top 10, in the morning and things like that when you were growing up. And I just always loved that.
And he was a pioneer. Obviously, for people who don't remember SportsCenter at the time, he was a pioneer for SportsCenter and also a college athlete at the same time. He was a wide receiver at the University of North Carolina, Chapel Hill, before he got that eye injury, and he ended up doing the sports broadcasting piece.
Yeah, I mean, he I think what he did, kind of changed the culture of SportsCenter. It wasn't just an informational show anymore. It was something that related to all the people worldwide, brought them closer to it, it just made them laugh and enjoy sports even more.
Right. And how does social media play a part in not only what you're doing now, but in terms of how you see yourself in the future from a business and marketing standpoint.
Social media, how?
In terms of like which platforms are you most engaged in, and how do you in your academic piece try to figure out, all right, versus normal media, traditional media versus more social media outlets, and how things are evolving in that space?
Well, social media I use it mostly, just like any other college student, mostly with my friends, and
Right.
to stay connected to my friends also back home. But I mean, even now, you could catch any major sports outlet on social media. Sports Center, they tweet everything out. They got an Instagram going. They even got the little feed on Snapchat. So, I mean, it's everywhere now. It's easy to find it everywhere, and it's just mind blowing.
Right. No, it sure is. And so we're entering into the kind of the second half of the Big East schedule, right? We got the Big East tournament's about a month away now, but we have some significant injuries that have happened in the Big East. We see Edmund Sumner got hurt, Maurice Watson got hurt, people you match up with on the court, point guards for Creighton and Xavier. When you see that, when you first heard about each of those injuries, how did it affect you, and how do you think that affects the Big East going forward?
It's just, you never wish that on even your worst enemies, something like that. Sometimes those things potentially affect people's careers,
Right.
It's kind of sad to see that happens. When you play teams, you want to beat them at their best all the time. You don't want people to have excuses. Well, this person was going, well, that person was going. You always want to play them when they're at their best and things like that. But overall, I still think the conference is really tough, really good. Those teams, even without those people, are still finding ways to win, which is incredible. And, I think we're one of the best conferences out there.
That's for sure. It's certainly one of the deepest. And like you mentioned, Creighton won, I think it was at Butler last week without Maurice Watson.
Yeah.
Which is, obviously winning on the road in the Big East is a huge deal. That's for sure. As you guys know, you guys won at Marquette recently, which was a huge win. And for you personally, you've taken a big leap this year in terms of production, and not just in terms of minutes, but your shooting percentage is way up. You took a huge leap this year. What did you do over the summer in the previous years to set yourself up for success this year, and what do you see going forward in the years to come?
I really did the same thing I do every summer. Go home with something specific you want to work on. You always have that in mind. I think I was around great people that pushed me, to be better. I worked out back home with a lot of former Colorado guys. I think current Colorado guy, Xavier Johnson, Austin Default, Carlin Brown, who's pretty good. He plays overseas. He was at Utah, transferred to Colorado. I think they won the Pac-10 that year too. And, and a lot of other college guys that I grew up with. One of my friends, Chris Barnes from UTEP. We were all in the gym together, working out every day pretty much. And when you can play against those overseas people and, people who are professional that have that insight, they can give you a lot of little details to help you add to your game, to be better, and be more versatile and things of that nature. Right.
I think a big change this year is just you've always been a very aggressive player, right? You've always, with the ball in your hands, you just attack. And you're doing the same thing this year, but obviously you're more of a shoot-first mentality. Not shoot-first mentality, but you shoot more often, I guess, on the whole than you did last year. So is that a change for you in terms of, is that kind of like new territory, or is that more of like, all right, kind of picking up the mentality that you had maybe a couple of years ago and transferring it forward?
This is just, my mindset pretty much. Pretty much in high school, we were a pretty good team. It's something that always lingered with me. Some days, if we were playing one of the lower teams in our league, I wouldn't even take a shot that night. I'd just go out and get about 14, 15 assists. But then if we were playing in a game where, it was high level and stuff like that, I'll go get 20 points. It was just like that sort of mindset. My first years here, we had a lot of dynamic scores and things of that nature. So I think my job or my mindset was primarily try to get these people the ball in spots that they can score in. And whereas this year, I know that the team leads a little bit more scoring, so I'm out there trying to score more often.
Right, and also obviously pulling it together on the defensive side as well. And if those of you are hearing all the crazy sounds in the background, the Friar Development Center is being The construction's happening just outside the window. So if you hear these crazy sounds, that's what it is. So from a defensive side, who is, say this year, the person for you that you view as like the hardest person to guard or kind of gives you the most trouble?
The hardest person to guard? For me to guard?
Yeah.
I don't know. There's a lot of great guards in our league. I'll say probably Sumner was one of the harder ones to guard just because of his length. I'm not that tall, so it was kind of easier for him to shoot over the top of me just with his length.
Right.
I would say.
Oh, okay. And obviously he's also extremely athletic. Anyone who's seen Edmund Sumner highlights can speak to that. Not that he had any on you, but just generally speaking, he could really jump out of the gym. That's for sure. He almost has more of a shooting guard mentality. In previous years, I know he was primarily playing the point this year. Yeah,
I mean, last year they had, did they have both of the Davis kids? They probably just had Miles Davis last year, but, they had multiple people who could be on the ball and play the point guard position, whereas this year they really just had two people. So,
right.
I mean, he was kind of forced to step into that role.
Right. No, absolutely. All right, I have a couple miscellaneous questions before you get out of here. I want to thank you, first of all, for doing this. We really appreciate it. I know you have a lot of fans out there. I work in another area of campus, and I told people we were doing a podcast with you, and everyone was excited. Everyone would come over here and do it instead of me. All right, so for you, best hoops movie.
Best hoops movie.
And if you can't narrow it down, you can give a top three.
Top three. Space Jam is in there for sure. Space Jam was in there. I'll go with Space Jam.
Space Jam number one.
I'll go Space Jam.
Wow, I didn't see that coming. All right. All-time top 5 point guards that you liked, that you saw personally play. So not going like way back. He's like Tiny Archibald or something like that. but top 5 that you've seen.
Seen play.
Either in person or on TV.
Who'd I go with? I go Chris Paul. Isaiah Thomas.
Which one? Celtics?
Yeah,
or
Celtics.
Detroit Pistons?
Celtics. No, Celtics. Definitely Celtics. I like Mike Conley a lot. John Wall. If we considering Kyrie to be a point guard, I guess I'll say Kyrie. I don't consider Kyrie to be a point guard. He's just a scorer.
So Kyrie Irving in this point. Yeah, because he basically splits the ball handling duties with LeBron.
Yeah.
Yeah. There you go. Chris Dunn, notably absent from the list. I'm just kidding. All right. So if you had to play a sport other than basketball growing up and try to play in college or try to play in the pros, which sport would have you chosen?
If I was taller, it would have been football. I'd probably try to be a quarterback.
All right.
But if not, we considering bowling a sport.
Of course.
I'll either go with bowling or, bowling.
So like Mookie Betts style. Mookie Betts, anyone who doesn't know, for the Red Sox, right field, actually accepted a scholarship to the University of Tennessee, a bowling scholarship out of high school. And then when he got drafted by the Red Sox, decided to just go play for the Sox. So you and Mookie Betts. All right. Last one, and I had a lot of people ask me about this that I had to ask. In a recent Big East game, there was a graphic shown where it was like, I'm sure you filled out a questionnaire before the game, your likes and your dislikes. No. So I have to ask, because everyone saw it, what you mentioned your fear of Rhode Island drivers. As a lifelong Rhode Islander, I didn't take it personally. I can relate. However, I do need to know, is there a story behind that? Multiple stories behind it?
Multiple stories.
All right, you got to give us at least one juicy one.
It's just like a lot of reoccurring things. A lot of people go out there and they just dart out for that right turn. Like, they just keep inching out. Like, while you're driving, they just stay in your lane, wait for when it's your turn to turn. And the thing that gets me the most is they try to force themselves into a different, to make a turn into a different lane. So a lot of times it'll be people on the side trying to make a left turn, and they see that they can't make it because their car is currently there, but they'll go out anyway because the lane that's going directly closest to them, no cars are coming for a while, but they still can't get in. And by the time cars do come, they're just blocking the road for everybody else. And I promise you, in California, people are not stopping for that. There'll be a lot of accidents.
See, we're just aggressive, Kyron. We drive the way you play basketball. We're aggressive. We attack the hole.
No, California drivers are aggressive too, but they don't do that. They don't do that at all.
All right, that's great. And then for anyone who's listening, who's a coach, or I know we have young Fire fans, who gravitate towards the team. I grew up being a Providence College Fire fan ever since I was like 5 or 6. For those kids who want to improve over the summer, like you improve every single year, is there certain routines that you do, or certain workouts that you kind of tell people to work on? Say, young guards, young point guards.
Not necessarily. I mean, all the workouts I usually did were centered around, the people I train with. Say if as a group, we needed to work on ball handling, we would work on ball handling. And then, like, each person has specific drills that they will work on. Everybody's not doing the same exact thing. It just came down to what area you needed more improvement on.
You got it. So really individualized.
Yeah, so just, pick something you're good at and try to master that first. And then, as you get older and progress, then try to pick up on, different things. For me, passing was always natural to me. So, passing came natural. So I used to get a lot of assists. I had to master that first. And then I was a decent shooter. So, next step was working on shooting, being crafty, working on different types of shots. And then, everything else comes after that. Sometimes you need to work on your speed, your lateral movements for defense and things like that. You go in the gym and you specifically work on those step by step.
When you say work on your ball handling, work on your shooting, what kind of time are you talking about to really kind of bring yourself to the next level?
I mean, ball handling for me is kind of natural because I always had a ball. Even I think most basketball players everywhere can attest to this. You can work on your ball handling without the ball. I promise you, if you saw me and my teammates walking down the street, sometimes you just, do a couple moves, like even without a ball, it just comes to you. And just trying to find times to get, things done in between, like, your day. At high school, I always carried the ball around with me, just going from class to class. I'd always be dribbling and things like that. And all the little things add up.
Playing, you mentioned earlier, without the ball, I think of like above the rim when Tupac's like, he's playing ball without a ball. I don't know how useful that is. All right. Well, thank you so much for doing this. I know you got to run. You got a big game against Seton Hall on Wednesday. This comes out the following Monday. Good luck down there. I hope everything goes well, and good luck the rest of the way.
Thank you.